It's My name is Barry Dunn, and I'm the president of South Dakota State University. On behalf of the university, the community of Brookings, and the South Dakota Humanities Council, it is my extreme pleasure to welcome you this afternoon to the state's premier literary event, the South Dakota Festival of Books. We would like to acknowledge, first and foremost, that we stand on the ground of the Osheta-Shakowee, the Lakota Dakota, home of the Lakota, Dakota, and Nakota people. We honor, we honor and appreciate the indigenous people who have the longest relationship to this place. Before we begin today's event, a great thank you to the Oscar Larson Performing Arts Center for hosting so many festival events. Thank you also to the many volunteers who assist in the festival planning and staffing. You too can help the festival. First, you can provide feedback about this year's event. A link to an online survey is available at South Dakota or sdbookfestival.com. Second, you can help keep the festival free by making tax-deductible donations to the South Dakota Humanities Council. If you are interested in donating, visit sdhumanities.org or use the slips available at the SDHC information booth. With your gift, you can enter a drawing for a print of our festival guide cover image by Brookings artist Chuck Bennis. Donate $50 for your first entry and $10 for each entry after that. The festival would not be possible without the generous support of the numerous organizations and individuals who have already donated and are acknowledged on the back of the cover of the festival guide. If you are a sponsor of the South Dakota Humanities Council and the Festival of Books, I ask that you please stand and be recognized. So those of you who are members, please, supporters. Billy Mills, Tomokai Tahila, was born and raised on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation. He was orphaned by the age of 12. Billy graduated from the Haskell Indian School in 1957 and the University of Kansas in 1961. He was a commissioned officer in the United States Marine Corps. His major sports highlights are: in 1964 at the Tokyo Olympics, he won the gold medal in the 10,000-meter run and set a new Olympic record. He was ranked #1 in the world. In 1965, Billy set 7 American records and 1 world record. He was ranked #3 in the world in the 10,000-meter run. Most recently, Billy co-authored a biographical story of his awe-inspiring journey to a record-breaking Olympic gold. The book is entitled Wings of an Eagle. The book is illustrated by award-winning Lakota artist S.D. Nelson. The book was recently selected by the Library of Congress, South Dakota, to be highlighted at the Library of Congress Book Festival in Washington, D.C. It was this past summer. Before we hear from Billy, we will play a video of the last lap of the 10,000-meter run at Tokyo. Billy's number is 722.
Tokyo, 1964. Some of the athletes from various teams have broken rank to get a closer look. Yoshinori Sakai is now passing by the bands which through those traditional Japanese drums. So the combination now. And begins the closing ceremony. Be extinguished. There it goes.
Scratch produced an amazing finish by Billy Mills. This will surely be the fastest 10,000 meter ever run by an American. Here's Mills, who seems to be boxed in. Suddenly there's an opening, and here he comes. Let's go back and look with our other camera to see exactly how he broke through the pack.
Billy Mills, the only American ever to win the gold medal in the Olympic 10,000 meter run.
Please help me welcome Billy Mills.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You're very kind. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know if they're here, but I publicly want to thank Donna Janelle Bowman and S.D. Nelson for the incredible work they did in bringing Wings of an Eagle to life. A granddaughter of ours said, "Grandpa, you look at the photo, his work, you can see behind you." He brought the magic there. I'm humbled to be among so many just creative people. My young life, I spent a lot of time in the library, so I have such deep respect for librarians. But that moment was very magical to me. I truly felt as if I had wings on my feet. It, it was magical. I told it was the greatest upset in Olympic history of the 20th century. But that's not what I took from sport. What I took from sport played a major role in giving birth to the book Wings of an Eagle. It began in my mind as an 8-year-old boy. My mother had just died, and as I mourned the loss of my mother, my father simply said, "Son, you have broken wings. You cannot fly. It takes a dream to heal broken wings." Find your dream, son. It'll take you down a path to where you may find a positive passion in life. Develop your skills to equal the passion. Bring them together. What happens, son, when a positive, creative passion meets equal skills? I simply said, I don't know, Daddy. Boom! He clapped his hands. Magic happens, son. Magic happens. And one or two of the magical things you do in your lifetime just may be looked upon as a miracle. Create the miracle. How do I create the magic? How do I create a miracle? His secret, he started reading to me. He started reading to me. In high school, I spent a lot of time at the library. I also worked there. I felt I could do anything in the world. Then my dad one night said, I need your help, son. We didn't have a car. It was a blizzard, a South Dakota blizzard. We have to get to the hospital. I walked him to the hospital. I didn't know it was a stroke he was having. I just knew the doctors would make him well. Looking back, it amazed me that not one person at the hospital thought of helping this 9-year-old boy drive back home a mile and a half instead of having him run. I ran. I was scared. One night was a beautiful summer drizzle. This time it was different. A Sunday afternoon, he said, son, we can't walk. You've got to find a drive. You've got to find a ride. I begged 3 people with cars, can you take Daddy to the hospital? They all refused. I remember him saying, we made it before, we'll make it again. He was heavy. His dragging a leg, arm around me. I knew we couldn't go any more than maybe another 10 yards when a car pulled up. They opened the door, helping my dad in the car. My elder sister walked up at the time. I started to get in, and my dad stopped me. He said, no, all I want you to do, follow a dream. Follow a dream, son. Create the magic. And I knew what was happening. I knew he was on his spiritual journey. But he also prepared me that it's not an end, it's a beginning. Someday I will see him again. An hour and a half later, my older brother and a younger brother came back and said, Dad died. My world came tumbling down. I was not ready for the rejection that I received as a young boy. I always had Daddy there. We'd go to a restaurant. We could be the only people there. We'd wait forever before we'd be served. And I remember my daddy saying, not everybody's that way, son. There's an incredible amount of good people in this world. He said, when you meet people, and some of you I did, when you meet people, look at their eyes. Look at their smile. One or two, the eyes or the smile or both, will take you to their soul. And you just might see a sacredness in them. I saw a sacredness in so many smiles among the creative people here. It was heartwarming. I learned later in life about Crazy Horse, who was one of my heroes, how when he came in, he said he could live with the help of the Great Spirit, eternal peace. Because when I look in your eyes, he said, I see the center of your universe. And when I'm at the center of mine, and you're at the center of your universe, we are one. We can live together. Our country today needs to look in the eyes of its people and find that center, find the universe. Crazy Horse became my hero. I had no idea. I'm half white, I'm half Lakota. When my white father, B.B. Mills, was asked to be the first Indian agent at the Red Cloud Agency, which is now Pine Ridge, South Dakota, and the U.S. government said no. He's married to a full-blooded Lakota woman, has 5 children, the youngest, about 3 months old. It would be too hard to take the Indianness out of them. 3 months later, my great-grandfather died. My grandmother, with her 5 children, the youngest, less than 6 months old, my grandfather, she found her way to Crazy Horse's camp, lived with Crazy Horse's people during the Battle of the Little Bighorn. I visualized perhaps she helped cook the meals for the warriors. Perhaps my grandpa walked by, maybe bumped into Crazy Horse. My fantasy. When Crazy Horse came in to accept eternal peace, to go anywhere in the world, 3 months later he was killed. I grew up in that world. My wife says I'm not 86 years old. She says I'm 4 years from 90. But I grew up blessed to know the ancestors of some of the people. So I started withdrawing. My dad dies. But there was always somebody there special to reach out, to hug me, to love me. I ran for loneliness, but I ran fast. Had 18 full athletic scholarships offered to me out of high school. And I read a lot. I loved to read. But I was not ready. I was not prepared for the rejection I would receive. I remember at the University of Kansas, and I love the University of Kansas, but we have to realize there's written history and there's oral history. When oral history is transferred today to written history, we're going to find this incredible truth. The truth that will empower this incredible democratic experiment to the sacredness that our flag represents. But some of our laws don't yet. One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All I was trying to do as a young boy was seek some justice. We voted at the University of Kansas whether I joined the black athletes. And we went to the military barracks so my white track colleagues could check into a motel and use the swimming pool. I was not surprised when my teammates voted unanimously for all of us to go to the barracks. Life presents incredible challenges. I took my Lakota virtues and values, patience, respect, wisdom, generosity, mercy, and that became the core of my life as a young boy, half Lakota, half European ancestry. It gave me strength. My dad taught me to sit down with people, compare similarities, compare virtues and values that are similar, to bond. And that bonding will give you strength. That bonding is integrity you both share with one another. And then you learn to understand differences. I've been doing that since I started college. I graduated 1962. But in this process, I ran. Made the Olympic team. Graduated from college. But I was hurting. I was broken inside. I remember being asked to make an All-American for the first time, the first American in the race. 2 foreign athletes, Olympians from their country, going to the U.S. schools. And I'm asked to get out of the photo. I remember when the top 5 made All-American in cross country, and I was the only American among the top 5. You, the darker skinned one, we want you out. I stepped out. I broke. One of the Canadian runners said, 4 of us are foreign athletes going to the U.S. schools. Billy is the only American making All-American. I'm not going to have my photo taken unless Billy could have his photo taken. My first experience strongly with global unity through the dignity, character, beauty of global diversity. The future of humankind if we choose the theme of sport, if it can last. I remember at the University of Kansas, I walked by a co-ed and I looked at her eyes. They were so beautiful. I turned around and followed her. Today they would have probably arrested me for stalking her. Eventually she started talking to me. A year later, we were married. I quit running. We got married. I remember her saying, so quietly, so powerfully, you're not the man I married. Running does something for you. There's a purpose for you to run. She laid out my workout gear. She said, go for a run. I started running again. Went back and told her, I have a dream. I have to heal a broken soul. I have to heal a broken soul. Running is going to be my way of healing this broken soul. Then I shared with her, right before we met at the national championships, cross country, I was asked to get out of the photo again. I broke. I stepped out. Found my way back to the hotel room. I know what it is to be broken. I opened the window. My feet were on the chair, my knees on the windowsill. I'm leaning out. I just wanted to go where it was quiet. And then I heard an unspoken word by energy, movement underneath my skin that simply said, don't. Then so loving, like an echo, don't. It sounded like my dad's voice, who died 10 years earlier. My thoughts were, as a little boy, Daddy's right. There's no end. He's just at this place in God's heaven, the beginning. He spoke to me. I got off the chair and I wrote down a dream to heal a broken soul. Not to become a gold medalist at the Olympic Games, but use the journey. It's the journey, not the destination, that would empower me. It's the daily decisions of life that we make, not the destination. And then I wanted to expand on my knowledge of global unity, local, national unity, through the dignity, character, beauty of the incredible diversity in our country. So I wrote down the goal, the journey to win the gold medal at the Games. Gold medal, 10,000-meter run. Made the Olympic team in 2 events. Pat and I were discussing, does she go or not? Didn't have the money to take her. I said, I don't think we can afford it. She said, that's okay. Came back and I was told she cried all day. So I go to borrow the money. I come and I apologized. I didn't realize how important it was for you to go to the Olympic Games, but I borrowed some money. You can go. She thanked me and she said, going to the Olympic Games is not important to me. But I know, Billy, how important that journey is to you. You cannot win the gold medal at the Olympic Games without me. If I'm not there, you're not going to win. I went on a 25-mile run. Do I need her there to win? Do I need her there to win? Noon, the sun's up here, and I looked at this incredible shadow, my shadow, and it was so powerful. I thought, that's a message. I need Pat to win the gold medal. I go back, apologized, and I said, I need you. I can't win without you. We're in Tokyo. It's time for the race to start. I come out. Before the race, I'm going low blood sugar. So I got a candy bar, ate the candy bar 20 minutes before the race. And Patricia's ticket was like 95 meters from the finish line. 14 rows up, 3 seats in. I walked right in front of her to the start. I could have very easily looked up and I would see her. But I believed so much in her that if she showed the slightest doubt, that would be my doubt. I worked so hard to heal a broken soul, and I needed to win this race. I looked straight ahead. My confidence reflects back to when I was in college, and I read the article about the subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between reality or imagination. It'll have your body respond equally to both. From that day in college, I walked out of that class, gold medal, Tokyo, Japan. The gun goes off. As the people in the stadium, far away, see the smoke first, then they hear the sound. All I heard were my thoughts. I'm going to win this race. Lap after lap after lap. Immediately, Ron Clark took the lead on world record pace. 5,000-meter mark. We're on world record pace. I can't go anymore. Running on a muddy track. I'm exhausted. But I took the lead. I have to win this race. Clark took the lead back from me, and I thought, oh my God. But then he slowed the pace. A major signal that is too fast for the world record holder also. 2 laps to go. The field broke. There's 4 of us left. The Ethiopian, Memo Wolde, faded. 3 of us left. I had a medal. I don't know if I could stay with them. Instead of thinking I can't go with them, it was I can't heal a broken soul. I can't heal unless I win this race. I took the lead. Immediately, Clark went right by me, and he slowed the pace. I'm in the race to the finish. I'm in the race, down to the wire to the finish. I'm going low blood sugar, sweaty, sticky arms, not the free-flowing sweat of exercise. My vision coming and going, from getting dizzy of going low. We come off the curve. I'm pushed into the 3rd lane. I closed black on Clark's shoulder. Gamudi broke between us, and they took off. I made a critical decision. I can't go with them. I'm going to let them get maybe 10 yards ahead of me. I can make one final try to win the race. I've got to win the race. Within moments, we're coming off the curve. They're 10 yards ahead of me. They go by a runner that we're lapping. I go by the runner. I could look up and see Pat. I could look up and see Patricia, but I was not going to. I looked at the runner. As I go by, out of the corner of my eye, I saw an eagle on his jersey. Boom, on this little boy again. Son, if you do these things, someday you could have wings of an eagle. He told me to take my culture, tradition, spirituality, extract the virtues and the values, put those virtues and the values into my daily living, compare those virtues and values with people from other societies, with patience, one of our values. You can get them to listen with respect. Stay above the onslaught of character assassination, for example. Use the wisdom. My thoughts as this little boy, I'm running the Olympic race. I go by the runner. I look. In the center of his jersey is the eagle. My thoughts were, I may never be this close again. I've got to do it now. I'm going to win, but I may not get to the finish line first. Am I contradicting myself? I'm going to win, but I may not get to the finish line first, but I'm still going to try to get there first, lifting my knees, lengthening my stride, swinging my arms. I felt the tape break across my chest. I came to a stop. An official came up to me. Who are you? Who are you? And I said, oh my God. Did I miscount the laps? He said, finished. You are the new Olympic champion. I turned around and I said, number one. And that's picked up on a color video as if I was boasting, number one. But I'm reconfirming, do I have one more lap to go? And you're the new Olympic champion. Then he said, is there anything we can do for you? I said, I have to find the German athlete. I've got to tell the German athlete the eagle on his jersey helped me win. I want him to know that. I go to him and I look. There's no eagle. It was a perception. Perceptions can create us. Our perceptions can destroy us. The official said, anything else we can do for you? And I simply said, I want my wife. I want my wife. Within moments, they're tapping Patricia on the shoulder. The new Olympic champion requests his wife. They brought her to me. We hugged. I start crying. I said, I know what it meant. She said, what? The eagle. I saw the eagle. Wings of an eagle. I'm going to win. I know what it meant when I said, I'm going to win, but I may not get to the finish line first. That I healed a broken soul. I healed a broken soul. And in the process, I'm an Olympic gold medalist. I never thought 60 years ago was the anniversary, this October 14th, that I'm still the only person from the Western Hemisphere to ever win that race. But what my dad prepared me for was starting to happen. He told me as a little boy, when they wouldn't serve us in the restaurants, not everybody's that way. There are many, many more incredible people out in the world, son. Take our culture, our traditions, our spirituality, extract the virtues and the values, sit down with people, compare for common ground. It'll give you an understanding to communicate with one another on positive terms. I came back from the Olympic Games and was asked to go to breakfast with some of the business leaders. Billy, we'd love to make an exception for you. would love to allow you to join our most prestigious business club. You'll meet the movers and shakers of the community. It'll enhance your income. Those contacts, you'll end up having an incredible income. Besides, Billy, you half qualify. So I, with just slow confidence but respect, said, what does half qualify mean? You're half white, Billy. My daddy was teaching me one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I recommended a full-blooded Native American indigenous man with a PhD. They refused. I half qualify. They'd love to have an Olympian. That has duplicated itself many, many times. I have been spit upon sharing this story with people. I've received now in my lifetime, I quit counting at 95 death threats, trying to promote unity through diversity. I get a call one day, an Olympic colleague of mine from the Maldives. He said, Billy, I just read your tribe's treaty with the United States government. Billy, I've studied your Lakota virtues and values. I wanted to change my name to Billy. They would not let me because we're Muslim, Islamic faith. So I studied your Lakota virtues and values. Billy, I have similar virtues and values, and we're both Olympians. I wanted to change my name. They would not let me because you have a Christian name. So I became an Olympian so I could be like you. I'm a two-time Olympian. You're a one-time. You won the gold medal. I finished second to last twice in the marathon. But that's not what we took from the Olympic Games. We took global unity through the dignity, character, beauty of global diversity. We've sat down, Billy, now, sharing our similarities. My wife teaches art on the Crystal Cruise Line. We go to the Maldives, Mali. He's waiting with friends. He said, Billy, will you speak to my friends? I spoke. This lady came up, and I did the courtesy reading of don't touch people and etc. This lady came up and she grabbed my hands. She said, we need more information like you have. Our world is changing so rapidly. Many of us are willing to listen, others are not listening. I said, are you a school teacher? She said, I was. I said, well, what do you do now? She said, I'm head of education for the country. I had no idea who I was speaking to. This other little girl came up, just a beautiful little girl, and her eyes were dancing. Do you think my dream can come true? I said, if that's your dream I see in your eyes, your dream can come true. 6 months later at the Olympic Games in London, I spoke to the Maldive Olympians, and she came running up, Billy, my dream came true. She hugged me. You're like my favorite uncle. And my arms are out. Hussein said, hug her. Then he said, we can't do that back home yet. But just time after time after time, Pat and I are in another country, about in the Maldives again. We go to dinner. 12 men at the table. Women are in the kitchen. Hussein Halim, Dr. Hussein Halim, gets his mother, brings her out, sets her down, brings Pat and said, Pat's my auntie. Sets Pat down and said, for the first time in the history of our family line, we have two women, my auntie Pat, my mother, joining us men for dinner. Cape Town, Africa. This young girl said she's read the Lakota Treaty. She said she looks toward young Lakota girls for hope for direction, for clarity of mind, than all women from the United States of America. How the tribal governments, how the state governments, how the federal governments, and the marketplace choreograph the future of America, and how they empower the women is either their celebration or their demise. As a young lady, we meet young people throughout the world. You are a role model to them. You need to know that's sacred. You are a role model. The young men. I've been so blessed to travel. I've been so blessed to be an Olympian. And I've been so blessed to have the opportunity to take my Lakota virtues and values and compare them with Marine Corps virtues and values, with the United States of America's virtues and values from other countries. And I believe in unity through diversity. I'll start to wind up with another story that's happening. 12 countries have studied indigenous tribes from America's treaties. They've studied how they relate their relationship with the United States government. They've studied generational trauma of indigenous people. They said they're studying the cause, effect, oral history, and how America could be so empowered. And I think they're speaking to the writers. America could be so empowered when our oral history is being documented in written history. And there's going to have to be some changes. But what surfaces from oral and written, they're saying, is the sacredness of truth. A lady, I walked off the stage in the Maldives, in Tunis. She followed me. She said, "How can I be respectful to your incredible country?" I teach the doctrine of discovery. I teach the treaty rights of some of the tribes. The footprints that you need to mature to the sacredness your incredible democratic experiment offers you. Why is your country letting those footprints be washed away by the winds of change and the passage of time? Why aren't you developing the truth? She asked what we were afraid of. She said, "What do I do?" I said, "Keep teaching truth." Truth should never be too severe to write about. Your hands, your typing, has that incredible ability to document truth. I'll just briefly tell you in 2 minutes what they say about the doctrine of discovery, which Pope Francis, a year ago, 15 months ago, called genocide. 1493, courtesy of the Vatican, the Pope wrote the doctrine of discovery. Any new lands found in the New World can only belong to the first Christian monarch that discovers those lands. The inhabitants, and many countries have quoted this, the inhabitants of those of the New World, the indigenous people, based on archaeological digs, 50 to 90 million. They must come under international rule of law. Their language, their religions, the songs, the dance, the sacredness of the drums, their prayers could no longer exist. And they must become Christians. But then in a decade, if these indigenous people became Christians, they could own land. Check and see how many people survived the wars of indigenous people, Arctica to the Antarctica. The figure I found out of 90 out of 50 to 90 million, 7 million. Other countries are talking about the most devastating genocide in the world occurring in the Americas. Our young people need to know that to counter it. We need to know what other people are saying about us. We're so large. We're like a continent itself. We're like a world itself. But we need to listen globally, nationally, locally about the diversity in front of us and to come together. Doctrine of discovery, Pope Francis said, was genocide. Treaty signed, treaties taken, the taking of land. Now slavery had to come into effect. The land had to be developed. There's no words that can describe the inhumane treatment of the slaves. When the slaves were freed, I remember the class at the University of Kansas, de Tocqueville, I'm not saying his name right, the French philosopher who came to America 1832 to study this incredible democratic experiment in our penal system. He left by saying, America, the United States of America, that new democratic experiment can never, ever be defeated from without. But if America's not careful, it can be defeated from within. The doctrine of discovery, slavery, Jim Crow, the war on drugs. I voted for Bush. I voted for 2 presidents, Reagan and Nixon. You can find documentation. I voted for them. Their leadership said they created the war on drugs to make young black men hippies, young black men and hippies felons by spreading drugs in the inner city. They dropped hippies and included young men of color. And then you can track the trail of drugs into Alaska, into the reservations. Meth has been devastating. We're at the point of trying to blame who caused it. Let's go back to the beginning of how it was created, and collectively we address it. It's devastating on the reservations. We need to help our young people. The war on drugs, the doctrine of discovery, treaties signed, treaties broken, slavery, Jim Crow, they're etched into every fiber of our social way of life, our educational system, our political system. Our little great-grandson with his beautiful braid. 5 years old, he's in a fight at school because he has a braid, even though he told him why he wears the braid. He says, my grandpa says if I'm going to wear the braid, I have to live up to the virtues and the values of my culture. I'm trying to live up to the virtues and values of my culture, while 2 guys are taking him down to the ground for his braid. We're much better than that as a country, as parents. Those footprints created generational trauma. It created privilege. Being half white, half Lakota, I've experienced both privilege and trauma. We need to come together. The voice of our young people need to be heard. The voice of the young college students. We need to come together. We have such incredible virtues and values in our country. The diversity of our country has incredible virtues and values. What a powerful country it would be if we brought the diversity together, empowering one another as we pursue our dreams. In my heart, I wanted to do that through Wings of an Eagle. Just having the 3rd grader. Believe he or she could have a dream, that they could find support, and the diversity of the student in the classroom next to them understands there's common virtues and values, and each other support one another's dream. If we empower 50% of those who hold up the world, that's our women. 50% of the people that hold up the world are women. We don't take rights away from them. We empower them. So what I'm going to do is say my dream, born at the Olympic Games, was to promote global unity, national unity, local unity, through the dignity, character, beauty of local, national, global diversity. And oral history, meeting, written history will produce truth. I'll close with, I dedicate to the creativity in this room, because you can play a major role in helping our young people choreograph the horizon of America's future as one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In this room, the minds of you are incredible, and I have utmost respect. So I'm dedicating a 90-second video to each one of you. I call it my warrior video, and I'll close with the video. Judy Collins sings Amazing Grace. You read captions on the top and the bottom. The video is over with. I'll share one 90-second story, and I'm through. I dedicate this video to you. How about let's starting over with that video again? It's so powerful.
How sweet the sound that sings the wretch like me. Trusting the grace of Thee, the I thirst believe. Amen. That said,
Jesse Owens said, everybody should have a dream. Dr. Martin Luther King, I have a dream. My dad told me to follow my dream. Take the Lakota virtues and the values. Follow the dream. Find the passion. Develop the skills to equal the passion. Bring them together. Create the magic. I challenge the writers. I challenge the youth, the parents, the grandparents. Collectively, let's prepare our children to mature their dream, to mature their dreams, to support one of their dreams, to learn about the diversity of the student in the classroom. And collectively, what they choose to do will choreograph America's future. one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. 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 That's it. Thank you. Wow. Thank you. That's right.
So it's my privilege to introduce Billy's wife, Pat, who's with us today, that beautiful girl from Kansas. So help me welcome Pat. Thank you for attending this afternoon's incredible lecture. We have the book Lessons of a Lakota by Billy Mills at the South Dakota Art Museum stand in the lobby. Wings of an Eagle is sold out, but the art museum's going to get them in this week. So thank you for coming, and help me thank Billy again.
Thank you.